Hey guys, I got some career advice for you.
Talk it to us.
All right, we'll take it. We're always looking for career advice.
All right, so if you're going to fast for 4 days, don't break your fast an hour before you have to do this show.
What's that? You get hungry?
No, it's a new song called Disaster Pants. Ha!
I feel that I have too much information already.
Well, you know, I'm trying to let you use your imagination, but there's really not much else to say. But there is some more funniness around that. So I'm at the studio, right? I run to the bathroom, take care of myself, and I'm standing at the sink and I'm washing out my drawers. And get them all nice and clean and everything. And I walk back to the desk and somebody at the studio is showing other people around. And, this is Carl, our resident genius. And the guy sticks out his hand for me to shake it. And hilarity ensued.
I really thought when I did a podcast to you guys, it might turn into a dirty thing, but not in this way.
No, in the wrong way.
Just as life. Life happens, and sometimes you got to wash it out. We have a lot of stories today.
We do.
Should we start with the tweet that I got?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
So I got this message on Twitter. I'm loving your new Security This Week podcast. In the 22nd of January podcast, From Russia with Love, there was a discussion on software bill of materials, SBOM, and the need for tools that can scan for vulnerable source dependencies. Have you heard of the SNYK tool? And that's SNYK. It automatically scans Git repos for CVEs, and we know what those are, in open source dependencies, gives a weighted risk score and recommendations for which packages need updating. I'd like your thoughts on this. Daniel.
Excellent point. We definitely use it. Dwayne, you guys use it more than me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Daniel, this is a fantastic mention, and I'm surprised we actually didn't mention it on the podcast last week. So there are a lot of packages out there that will do scanning for vulnerabilities. We use SNYK all the time. If you go to security.snyk.io, there's actually, you can search for different packages and libraries. So you could incorporate this into your repo and you could go look for sort of normal vulnerabilities and that sort of stuff, and that's fine. But as an offensive team, what we also do is we leverage this database to know whether a customer is insecure. So just this year alone, there have been at least 3 sites that I can remember that were shopping sites online. A customer was using with certain plugins, and we went straight to the SNYK database and looked up those plugins, and sure enough, found vulnerabilities where we could get access to the site. So yeah, that's a really great find, a really good point, Daniel. So yeah,
I think that's going to be a big theme coming up, is knowing what you're actually running, having an idea of what code is actually running, and how to know if the next big vulnerability affects you. As we learned from Log4j, Log4j is the canary in the coal mine for this.
Right.
Yeah, and the only thing I wish is that this was more of a requirement and not like a one-off thing. Like,
it will have
like,
to
hey, every software that comes out has to have some package like this to do vulnerability scanning and to make sure that it's publicly available, everything that's being used.
I think some of the big players will make that happen, because it'll be, what's your SBOM? And we'd like to see it before we buy. Oh, you don't have one?
Right.
You're off the list. We're not going to buy from you.
Right. Or we need to see it. We need to see a scan done by SNYK first and see what the rating is before we adopt it. Something like those.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Very cool.
Good message. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, there's a big pile of stories here. Where do you want to start? You want to start with North Korea? Because that's the most satisfying one. That's the one I'm going to say, Dwayne, that's awesome.
This one's awesome. Although there's another one in here that's awesome too, which is malicious CSVs. We'll talk about that later, but this one's awesome. So, okay.
Yeah, you tell the story.
Let me set the stage. You're a Western security researcher, as everybody on this podcast usually is, listening or talking here. We're all security researchers in some respect.
Of course.
And a nation state comes after you.
Yeah.
That nation happens to be North Korea. And for those of you who don't know, actually, North Korea has a pretty sophisticated offensive army.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you have North Korea coming after you, and they're coming after you for your tools and to see if you've discovered any security vulnerabilities that they could then leverage in a massive attack.
Yeah.
So you're a researcher, you do the right thing, right?
Right.
You go to the authorities and you say, hey, listen, this happened. It's really kind of upsetting. It's a little jarring. They didn't get anything from me, but it's a little bit jarring.
Yeah.
And a year later, nothing happens. So what do? You're sitting down in your living room. You're in your t-shirt, your pajama pants. You're eating corn snacks. You're watching Aliens. And you say, I know what I do. I just think I'm going to go shut down North Korea. And that's what this guy did. Goes by the hacker handle Pax, I think is his name. Yeah, P4X Pax. He was like, you know what? I found some vulnerabilities in their main router. Let me just shut them down for a period of time.
I love it.
They're a bottleneck country. They don't have a lot of pipes into the country because they're trying to restrict access.
No, and it's impressive that you have one person who can then go and in essence teach a lesson to a much larger organization.
Yeah, in between episodes, reruns of the Brady Bunch, in your pajamas, eating corn snacks. I think I'll check on how I'm taking down North Korea.
Still running.
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah, I love that. I love that quote.
Go to bed, Mom. I'm taking down North Korea, Mom.
Let's be clear. This is something that is not legal.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got to shut something down then. Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to stop.
Unfortunately, hackback is not legal in the United States.
No, it's not.
We're not allowed. And I don't know if this guy's in the United States. I hope he's in a place where...
He is. Actually, according to Wired.com, it says, but responsibility for the North Korean ongoing internet outages was not U.S. Cyber Command, but was one American man in a T-shirt, pajama pants, and slippers, sitting in his living room at night watching Aliens the movie, eating spicy corn snacks, periodically walking over to his office to see the progress of shutting down an entire country's internet.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
I'm on board. I'm Team Pax, trust me.
I love this. I mean, yes, it's illegal, but come on.
Well,
those guys can bite me.
So the way he did it was really good. But here's the back. I'm always Debbie Downer, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, geez, Patrick. Can we just celebrate PAX for a minute?
Yeah, please.
I am celebrating PAX, but I want to keep our people out of trouble. So
right.
PAX knew what he was doing. He knew what router he was going for. He wasn't going to hit a hospital by accident.
No,
one of the biggest problems we have is if somebody hacks you and makes it look like it's coming from one IP address, it could be a hospital server. And if you hack back, you could take down the hospital.
Right.
Sure.
So he knew where he was going. He knew what he was doing. He understood the topology of the internet. And so he's probably not going to be prosecuted. There's no division in the U.S. government who's dedicated to, I'm going to protect those poor North Korean hackers. So he's probably fine. But while I hope the government someday allows us to do some kind of privateer, join some kind of militia to go after cyber threats outside this country, you do so at your own risk.
Right.
I want to warn people that if you go to this link on our website and you leave it up for too long, the page will start talking to you. So a video will automatically play. As we know, that is such bad etiquette. But,
it happens.
Unfortunately, it happens.
So that's a good news story, I think, because
I think it's a good news story.
We want to see more of that happen. But
it's a vigilante story.
Are you talking about this Wired site? It just plays a video?
Yeah. Yeah, I went to it, and while Pat was talking there, somebody just started talking.
All right, you ready?
To me, and I was like, what?
I'm running all of my internet through a pie hole, and then I also have an ad blocker, and then on top of that, I'm running through my own open DNS, shutting down all ads. So nothing plays on mine.
Aren't you awesome?
Nothing plays on mine.
Well, let's explain what that is.
Yeah, what's a pie hole?
You shut your pie hole.
It's what you're talking at, Carl.
So a pie hole is a Raspberry Pi, which is a little computer on a board that you can buy, and there's a project called Pi Hole where you can create a router for your network and it will basically Bitbucket everything you don't want, all the ads.
Right. So when you visit, even if you're playing like a little game on your phone or whatever, and it tries to go to an ad, they have to pull up the DNS request for that ad, the name for that ad, the servers to serve it up.
Yeah.
What the Pi-hole does is it knows all of these ad-serving servers, and it just says, yeah, that server doesn't exist. So the app you're playing or the browser you're using just doesn't display them because it can't get to them.
You know what? People who are listening to this that own websites should be taking notes, because there is no way to block a podcast-based ad.
Right?
I'm just saying,
Just
you might want to think about advertising with us.
That's right.
Who am I kidding? My grandmother's the only one that listens to this show.
That's
and
not
she's
true.
dead.
Daniel listens too.
Well, that's true. Danielle and my grandmother.
And we appreciate it. Thank you, Daniel.
So have your kids protested, Dwayne? Because there are some video games, I think, especially like on phone and iPad.
Okay, all right.
You have to watch video in order to get the next thing.
Okay, you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
There are if you put your Pi-hole in place, most of those apps will think the video played, and it will instantly go to the end. And
you're kidding me.
No, yeah. So my kids are thrilled because what happens is it goes to throw to an app, and then it comes back and it's like, here's your gems.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I should get one. I've been delaying. I got to get one.
All right. I'm adding a link to Pi-hole.
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 All right. What's next coming out of your
suck
Pi-hole?
it.
It's awesome. Next.
There's kind of a lot of big hacks, vulnerabilities today. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's go to the data center one. This one's interesting. So
okay.
Lots and lots of companies, obviously all of us, even this podcast is probably being streamed to you from some data center, whether it's you're watching it on Amazon or Apple or whatever. It's coming from a data center somewhere. Having people to man those data centers is expensive. Lots of data centers are considered what's called lights out data centers. So there are literally no management staff. It's just servers locked up in a fully managed, fully automated facility.
Bunch of freaking robots.
Bunch of robots keeping servers cold. So what's interesting is, and this is, we'll put the link to this article, but researchers have found 20,000 instances of publicly exposed data center infrastructure management, or what's known as DSIM software, that monitors devices, HVAC, power, etc. So what this gives you the ability to do is literally publicly, and a lot of these have default passwords.
Wow.
Which is usually admin passwords.
Oh, God.
Guest. Those are your top passwords.
Do they at least replace the A with an @ sign?
No, LeetSpeak, the awesome LeetSpeak, no. So there's about 20,000 that are accessible right now. A lot of them with default passwords or exploits that get you by the login screens, where you could literally shut off servers. And
so let's talk about Google Dorks for a minute.
What'd you call me?
You heard me.
I use Google. Am I a dork?
So there's a thing in our industry called a Google Dork.
Yeah,
and a Google
we talked
Dork,
about them.
We did.
Yes.
And this is a Google Dork. You could do a search for the page that highlights this, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
So basically, if a hacker knows the search criteria, which is not hard to find, they could take their pick of which cloud they want to infect or hijack or take over.
Yeah, and a lot of times I like using Shodan for this as well. That's another sort of great search engine for these types of weird, like Google's fantastic for anything that's a web content delivered thing. Everything else, like random SSH ports and random RDPs and random webcams, like Shodan's kind of your go-to engine, which is pretty cool.
It's the alternate port.
Yep.
Okay.
Google Dork. And Shodan's a little bit higher end. It's less of a script kiddie tool and more of a higher end tool.
Oh, did you just say Shodan's better than Google? You're going to
think
get some hate mail.
Not from Shodan.
No, it's true. Hey, we're a paid subscriber of them. They do a great job.
I was a Shodan at 18.
Sometimes I feel like I've just parachuted into the Star Trek Enterprise bridge.
Why? When we're talking about stuff?
I mean, I've just given up asking you to define things and explain things. I'm just like, yeah,
Because we suck at it.
It
I
is.
don't know.
It is. Yes.
There's just so much.
There is honestly. There's so
job
much
security.
technology and terminology.
Yeah, I
Job
guess so.
security. Yes.
Through
or
obscurity.
frustration.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing. One of the things questions we get very often is, well, how do I get into this? And my advice is this: you need to get an inch deep and a mile wide. You need to know a little bit about everything. You need to know how the internet works. You need to know what DNS is. You need to know what Kubernetes is. But you don't have to become a Kubernetes administrator.
Right.
And you don't have to become an Exchange or an Office 365 administrator, but you have to know what Active Directory is and why it works and how it works. And so you got to get an inch deep and a mile wide, and then you can specialize.
In short, listen to Security This Week.
Exactly.
We'll walk you all over the place.
Yeah.
We'll point out the sites.
And the dorks,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And share it with your dork friends. And, see which one of you becomes a security expert first. I bet it's you.
And then call us.
And then
After you take down North Korea.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
That's the job.
Now, what are your
interview.
credentials? I took down North Korea's internet.
Okay.
All right, you're hired.
Top of the pile.
You're in.
But you got to serve your jail term first.
So this is a big number. 20,000 data center management systems is a big number. Now, I'm sure Amazon and Azure and those data centers aren't what we're talking about. We're talking about
those
small.
are usually pretty good.
We're talking about the small, the smaller data centers that are either corporate run or small ISPs, but there's still a lot of systems there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of that is just mission configuration, right? So when we do a lot of our red team offensive engagements, 9 times out of 10, the way we get in is not by inventing a 0-day hack that nobody's ever seen on the planet. It's usually somebody configured something wrong. And then that's how we get
Very
in.
boring.
And this is a prime example.
Yep.
Yep.
And then there's the routers. So many routers.
Yeah, routers is interesting. This one is eternal silence.
277,000 routers have been exposed to eternal silence attacks.
Oh, and Dwayne's going to use my favorite quote here.
This is why I picked this article, Patrick.
I know you did.
This quote is awesome. Hey, Patrick. Eternal silence is the way for an attacker to tear apart a service called UPnP, which is Universal Plug and Play, which makes the router much more convenient.
Yeah.
I mean, plug and play sounds so convenient.
And
right?
It sounds very convenient.
And what, sir, is the enemy?
What could go wrong?
Convenience? Yeah.
Oh, unfortunately, that's true. I mean,
a
lot of the innovations in security is when you can get better convenience with good security, but it's not common.
No. And this is interesting. So, let's say you're an avid video gamer and you Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, and you set your console up at the house and you then go to your network stats and settings and it says you're behind a NAT or it gives you a really terrible setting. There's this thing your router can do at your house called UPnP, which will automatically, because you're on the inside of the network, will automatically forward port data from the internet down to your Xbox console. So it'll say your Xbox will go to your firewall or your router and say, hey, I need this type of traffic over here. And your firewall will go, okay, cool. If anything comes in on that port, I'm just going to send it directly to you.
So this is stuff that I would normally have to do if I go to, 192.168.1.1 and go log into my router. And
in a strict world, you'd have to configure your router. You'd have to configure your firewall. And most people can't do that.
Well, yeah, but that's what you should be doing.
Yes, exactly. Right.
At the very least, you should be using some known Windows software where you can say, yes, allow that. And, the firewall thing does come up, doesn't it? In Windows Defender, if it's working, if something needs access to a port, the little thing pops up and says, allow this application to go through the firewall.
Yes.
And if you say yes, it does.
Right. And
so
then,
that's too complicated for people now?
Well, I think the problem you run into is your firewall to the internet, not the one locally. That one may or may not open up automatically. Like the three of us, if we needed a port opened from the internet inside our house, we just go to the router or the firewall, we'll configure it.
Right.
But routers all come with this UPnP feature that automatically does it because most people don't know how to do that anyways, is go to their firewall and open
They
port.
all come with it?
Oh, yeah. I had to shut it off on a lot of our production security firewalls.
Holy crap.
It's on by default in most of the routers I've looked at.
That is so insecure.
Yeah, so if you're on the inside, you just make a request and open a port. So what's interesting is a lot of the old, and this is I believe where the Eternal came from, right? Remember there were the NSA tools that got leaked by Snowden, and the shadow broker put them out on the internet and that sort of stuff, and some of the Eternal tools. So there was Eternal Blue, etc. That were what was it, Eternal Blue and Eternal Red, which were exploits for what's called SMB, which is Windows shares. So Eternal Blue, I believe, was
file
Windows.
Shares.
Yeah, Windows file shares, and Eternal Red was Samba, which is an emulation of Windows file shares.
Yeah.
They believe that a lot of systems out there that may still be susceptible to Eternal Blue and Eternal Red to get full access to the system. The only reason they haven't been found yet is because they're behind firewalls.
Weren't they built by Equation Group and leaked from them?
I think that was the rumor. I've never seen a document that says it was, but I think you're probably right. I know a lot of these tools were Equation Group tools that then went to the NSA that then got leaked out on the internet. So what's interesting about this eternal silence is a lot of servers that may still be susceptible to older hacks are now being reopened. Because if I say, hey, let's open up port, the SMB port through your firewall to your Windows server that you haven't patched in 10 years. Now it's accessible on the internet. And that's the whole point of this article here is not only are they seeing, yes, there's a lot of routers out there that are susceptible to this eternal silence, but there are also Windows servers behind them that can be infected as well. So moral of the story here, turn off UPnP if you're not using it. So go to your router and figure out how to turn that off. And if you can't turn that off, then you really should be figuring out, how you can restrict who's going to be able to request.
Call Dwayne. He'll do it for $1,000.
Call me and I'll tell you whether I'm already on your system.
He'll tell you your cat's name. All right. Speaking of Samba, because you were, there's a Samba bug, and Samba again is a what did you say? It was an abstraction that's sort of like Windows file shares, but it's over a network.
It's
it's the Linux version of that.
Exactly. Yep. It's how Linux shares files over the server message blocks or Windows sharing. So Linux can share files that way.
So this is really for people who have Linux boxes with that are running desktops, right?
Right.
Yeah. Desktops and servers. So anybody who's running a Linux server or desktop that's running Samba installation, or even Mac, for that, matter.
Yeah.
That is running Samba pre 4.13.17. So if you're running before version 4.13.17, this is your public service announcement. Please go patch. Your server is vulnerable.
See, Dwayne's not always evil. He has some nice days.
Just by default.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't tell you I've known about it for 9 months and been using it. But now you should go patch. I'm done with it.
All right. That's enough of that, I think.
It is.
Yeah. What's the next one? The telco?
Telco, yeah.
Fines. So this is more of the governance thing where governments are starting to be fed up with companies ignoring. So there's an anecdote that I think we might have talked about a long time ago, but Dwayne was in a conference room. I think I was there too. I'm not sure. Where they specifically said that when security comes up, all the executives leave the room. And this was 15 years ago, so it should have changed by now. But there are some companies that still have their heads buried in the sand and think that if they don't know about a security vulnerability, they're not responsible. Those days are over. And these fines are showing that government organizations are starting to say, look, you should have known better. It's malpractice. It's negligence for you to not secure your data, for you not to have firewalls, for you not to have backup plans, for you not to have things in place to deal with data that you knew was vulnerable. And so this is another example of that. In this case, it's telcos over in Europe being fined millions of euros.
Yeah, 9 million euros should wake you up to maybe we should have somebody patch something.
Well, especially in Greece, their economy is not booming.
No. I know. You give me 9 million euros, I'll patch whatever you want.
Right.
So now they have 9 million left to patch, but this is a good thing for all of us in the real world because it means that maybe companies won't be as Swiss cheese. Maybe you won't get as many emails saying your data's been breached, and maybe it can take away some of the profit margin, because the more we let the hackers get, the more money they make from it, and then the more they can make from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Agreed.
So, this is another
back in the corner.
Well, this is another example of, what you warned us about, that, the authorities might come after you if you, through negligence, allow your customers' data to be leaked.
I think cyber negligence and cyber malpractice is going to start being a thing.
Yeah. And because nobody uses WordPress anymore, except for the 600,000 sites that were impacted by a critical plugin vulnerability.
Yeah, remote code execution.
Is it just me, or do we talk about a WordPress plugin almost every week as well?
It's WordPress, Russia, Log4j. This week, I think North Korea takes the cake.
Wait a second. This is an epic week. I don't think we've talked about Log4j at all.
You're right. Well, we haven't so far, but is there any Log4j story?
There's no Log4j this week.
Wow.
Well, I think you just kind of ruined that.
No, we said Log4j. God.
Well, also, we pointed out that we probably missed it if it happened.
Right?
I'm sure there's stories. They just haven't.
There are definitely stories.
We're just too stupid to find them.
We're just moving away for the week. We're taking a week off of Log4j. Be back next week. So
back to WordPress.
Yeah, this one's interesting. So this one is a critical remote code execution vulnerability. Yet again, RCE. I can run a piece of code in some such way that gives me the ability to run a command on your server. Very, very bad. Anytime you see RCE, you want to be concerned. So this is another PSA just to patch. Anybody who is using the Essentials add-on for Elementor, version 5.0.4 or older, needs to go patch.
And does it say when 504 was out, like how old that is? Does it say what the latest one?
Actually, there's been 2 attempts by the author to actually patch this.
Yeah.
And there was a problem when the researcher found this. There was already a patch in existence. It just wasn't deployed.
Yeah, and it looks like the latest patch was released January 28th, so just a few days ago. So patch.
Man, this is drama. This is radio drama. I don't know about you, but why watch spy shows when the real world is so much more entertaining?
It is very entertaining. You're absolutely right. Like 600,000 WordPress sites.
God.
Go out and...
or it's horrifying.
Well, I think it's
both.
amazing. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Who needs Freddy Krueger or Jason? We got the internet.
This is so good. So good.
Yeah.
And I think we left the best one for last, but so second to last story here. SEO poisoning pushes malware-laced Zoom, Team Viewer, and Visual Studio installers.
So let's talk about what SEO is. Search engine optimization.
So search engine optimization is a way that you can put code or take out code in your, or even design your websites so that the search engines, Google and Bing, who are we kidding here? The search engines will find them when you type in the right keywords. So you're optimizing your website to be discoverable by a search engine.
So
yes.
I'm gonna delete some of the details to not tie it back to a specific customer. But
thank you.
We had an engagement recently where we had to get somebody to click on something, and we were trying to keep the security people in the dark as long as we could. So we needed them to have a plausible story for why they would click on such a link. So we had an internal agent basically. And so Dwayne went to a forum for a software development group, and the person we were dealing with on the inside was a developer. And he took a piece, he basically asked the admin a question about whether this was the right place to talk about this, and got in a conversation with the number one admin on the site, which drove up the rank.
Yeah. So all the developers on the site started talking about this one topic, which then ranked it to the top. And then at the end, I posted an article referencing it back to a site that I had phishing, so that
man.
everybody, including our agent, would go there.
And so
but it did. It came up as the #1 post for that thing in Google, and I was like, woohoo!
And that's an example of SEO manipulation. You get search engines to highly rank something. There's an example where if you do a search for like QuickBooks support, for a while there, the #1 result was a phone number that would get you to somebody in India or Pakistan, but it wasn't actual support.
Right.
And they would try to get you to the point where you would give them remote access, and then they would steal all your money.
Same type of thing here. Just be careful what you download. If you're searching for Visual Studio and the download link is coming from Bitly, which is like a shortened URL thing, no. Visual Studio comes from Microsoft. If you're downloading it from somewhere else, don't. So don't always just click on the top thing that comes back from Google, because sometimes it's not.
Well, but it's not just Google. What this article says is happening is that a poisoning campaign is underway, dropping the Batloader and Atera agent malware onto the systems of targeted professionals searching for productivity tool downloads, such as Zoom, TeamViewer, and Visual Studio. So are they installing it? They're not installing it on Google, obviously.
No.
But they're using SEO to manipulate the search engine so that they come up first in the link.
Exactly. And search engine optimization is everything from having other pages linked to your page, so how would a hacker do that? So depending on how sophisticated and how advanced they were.
This is your moment of career advice, Mr. Criminal. Advice.
So you might have
Mrs. Criminal.
Let's say you're a hacker and you have a stable of 20 companies whose servers you have access to, and half of them are web servers. Right. You could create a page on their websites with a link to the thing that you're trying to raise the SEO of. And those would become references, if you will, to basically tell the search engines, hey, this is a reputable page. I got this company and that company all pointing to this page. It must be a real page.
The search engine says, oh, okay.
And then there's also, ways to do formatting, number of words, different content counts. There's all sorts of ways to do it. And if a company can do it as a marketing exercise, a hacker can do it as a hacking exercise.
So this is like, Mr. Blithers, who decides he's going to go to do some SEO training, and he gets it up and he puts up a shingle saying, hey, I'll fix your website. And nobody takes, nobody comes calling. He's like, well, screw you guys. I'm going to the dark side with my knowledge.
I think that only happens in Gotham, but yes.
I mentioned I'm old.
Yeah.
So
that's search engine optimization poisoning. This is a lesson we need to take everywhere. For example, QR codes. Yep. So with QR codes, basically it's a symbol that lets you go to a website very quickly. You need to be careful about that, because if you see one on the side of a truck on a bumper sticker, don't go to it.
Because you have no idea.
Right. If you're in a restaurant and they say, well, this is our menu, it's probably a little bit safer. And but certainly don't provide any information to it, like your banking information, etc.
Right. Yeah, QR codes. Never thought of that. You really have to consider the source.
Right. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Yes. I wouldn't. A bumper sticker is a little more traceable to the driver or whatever, and the license plate, but certainly on the side of a wall.
If I put a bumper sticker on the back of your car, how long would it take?
Well, that's a different thing. Yeah, you're right.
If I took the license plates off your car and
all right, career advice number 2: come up with some malware that's ransomware, and create a bumper sticker with the QR code.
Visit a bunch of restaurants.
Win $1 million, and just put the bumper stickers on every car in ShopRite.
Like it. There you have it. There you have it. Career
now
advice.
I'm beginning to think like Dwayne.
and the world is ending.
Welcome, Carl. Welcome. The dark side welcomes you.
So that is absolutely possible. Holy crap.
Yep.
Ransomware by bumper sticker. Just wait. Somebody's going to do it, and we're going to read about it here next year.
It'll happen.
I'm sure somebody's already done it.
Yeah, that's
true. We just haven't seen it.
They're like, curse you for telling my...
Well, because ransomware is the highest impact thing. If you ransomware someone, they know it. But there's a lot of ways to get someone where they don't even know they got.
I'm here to pick up my bumper stickers. Okay, well, we only take credit cards. I only have cash. I'm sorry. Only credit card. Don't worry about it. I pay cash.
You find the cash where you walk dog. What?
Right. On that note, one last story, which I think is awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so we all know if you get a Word document or an Excel document or something along those lines in email, do we click on it?
No.
No. Very
No.
good.
It comes from Dwayne.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. If you get a CSV, and for those of you who aren't, tech savvy or who aren't developers, a CSV is literally just a text document. No code can run in a text document.
Right.
It's a text document with columns of data separated by commas, comma separated values,
Right.
CSV. So if I send you a text document with just regular text separated by commas, do you open it?
No. I'm going to say no. I mean, I would
Well-
save it, and I certainly wouldn't open it with a browser. I might drop it into Notepad.
Sure.
Yeah,
Drop it
Notepad's-
into Notepad. But if you were to double click on that, which most
No.
of us might,
I wouldn't do that.
Excel
the
will try to open
application
it.
that opens it is Excel.
Yeah.
Not a
Well,
big deal.
It by default in Windows, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So not a big deal. Excel's going to read it. It's just text. It's
Yeah,
not
but-
code.
Yeah.
You can put a macro in.
Can't put a macro in, but what you can do is Excel has a feature called DDE, which is Dynamic Data Exchange.
Oh my God, the 90s called, and they want their
Right?
technology back.
That's prior to OLE.
It's awesome.
Object
So-
linking and embedding. We're literally talking 1990, 91.
DDE is Dynamic Data Exchange, and I wrote a couple of apps using it back in the
Oh, yeah.
90s.
So did
Yeah.
I.
Mid-90s, this was hot. This is how you got a CSV to do things in Excel.
You
So
got
what this
anything to Windows to work.
This is now come back, and people are putting in what's if you literally put as one of the columns equal WMIC.
Okay, career advice number 3.
Yeah, be
And
old.
then
Be
call
an
the
old guy
process.
who remembers things.
Right.
I went back when I was a whippersnapper.
Knee-high to a grasshopper.
Keyboards
only had zeros and ones.
So somebody out there has got a pen and paper. Now you're going to say it again. So go ahead, write it down. What is it that they put in there?
If you put in equal a WMIC, it will try and run a
KEY.
Windows management command, which means you can run any command on the computer. And right now, what people are running is a PowerShell command to get to either deploy a backdoor, and this particular article we'll post the link to. So they're deploying the bizarre backdoor. So they're deploying backdoors or getting reverse shells or just ransomware. Where you thought this was a safe file type, it's a text file.
Are you using this in that next week's engagement? Is that why
I
you're
can't
talking about
confirm or deny that this is going to be a part of a lot of my
my God.
campaigns.
this? I
'Cause
pity
this
all
is
of our
awesome.
customers.
Yeah.
I feel bad for them.
And then sell them the antidote. That's what you
Uh-huh.
do afterwards. If you really
Well-
want to be awesome.
we'll help them be secure by shutting off all their computers and burning them in a dumpster fire.
They
I
generally
just
don't
am.
like that.
I'm really surprised that DDE is even working in
Right?
2022. Why
Backward
isn't that turned
compatibility.
off?
Backward
so
compatibility, man.
Yes,
Backward
but with
compatibility.
what?
With
Yeah.
With what? With an operating system that's
with
20
your,
years out of
What
date?
if I've got OS2 Warp?
with your compact iPack that might still be running somewhere.
Right. Windows
Oh my
NT 351.
Terrible.
So awesome. So awesome.
Upgrade your operating system, but not to Windows 11 because it sucks.
So what is this
Wow.
episode called? An inch deep and a mile wide? Is that?
No, I'm actually, I have a working title here. Hacker takes down North Korea's internet in his pajamas.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
I like it.
All right. That's it.
That's it.
That's
Okay.
what we got.
That's a wrap.
Thanks,
Be
everybody.
good and don't hack like Dwayne.
Or do.
You can't hack it.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.